said that this was going to be a star-studded week. I usually deliver, and this was one of those weeks where I can pat myself on the back and say, yeah, I delivered. Welcome to another edition of The Game Changer. Ladies and gentlemen, I am indeed Nate the Effing Great, and I'm being joined here by a woman who I originally was going to have her just by herself last week, but then we decided, why not bring a few more people on? It turned out to be a lot of fun and great episode, but of course, this is the woman who basically started it all, the woman who is absolutely phenomenal, not only as a model, but also as a cosplayer, as a mermaid, you name it, she definitely has done a fantastic job. Definitely go check her out on her Facebook fan page, the one, the only, Miss Scarlett Wolf.
Hey! You're making me blush, by the way. Thank you.
I try my best to have some of the best introductions, although there's one other person that I know is really trying to be, as good as introduction as I am, but there's going to come a point where he and I are just going to have like this, intro off where we're just going to be like, hey, introduce this person and see who does it best. But that'll be for a future episode, ladies and gentlemen. So, basically, I like to start off anytime with, a series of questions. And one of the first questions I asked, especially for you with your background, how did you get interested in doing cosplay, and how have you kind of kept the motivation to continue to do cosplay?
It actually started when I was just a little wee one in college. I think it was probably my first year of college. I had been doing photography for fun with a friend, a photographer, and I loved dressing up in the costumes and the things that they had available. I actually did, my first little shoot was a Little Red Riding Hood shoot, because he actually had a wolf, the guy that was the photographer, and I'm like, yeah, I wanted to take pictures with your wolf as Little Red Riding Hood, who wouldn't? So, he was part of it. He was one of the ones that was like, you need to go do this. It's a whole bunch of costumes. You're a nerd. You're a geek. You're going to really love this. And he actually gave me tickets to go to the first con that I went to. It was wonderful. I went as Hot Link. And I wasn't going to dress up, quite honestly. I was just going to go and check it out. And I just happened to happen upon someone while I was looking for apartments who had a Legend of Zelda shield and a hat. And I already had like a little green outfit that I figured I could cut up and make my own. And she ended up just letting me borrow her stuff, even though I didn't know this girl. And now she's my best friend for 6-7 years now. It's crazy how that works. But she let me borrow her stuff, and I went as Hot Link for my first con. And while I was there, I really enjoyed it. I met a lot of the people that I still know and love today. But, everybody, you just always add in new people. But yeah, I really enjoyed myself. I got offered a job while I was there. It was my first con, and I got offered a job in college. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to sell comics and be your booth babe for a year. And that's what I did. And then after that, I felt like I needed to just go out and do my own thing. So I still con. You can find me as a guest at different cons as well. Feel free to ask me to be a guest. I'd love to come and be a guest wherever. I'm willing to travel.
Damn. Man, I mean, up here in the Midwest, we have a big convention coming up called C2E2, and I know I missed out on last year, and I'm still pissed off about that. But, yeah, I might just have to say, like, hey, guys, there's this nice, awesome person out in Dallas. Maybe call her up, maybe have her do some cosplays, do stuff like that. And, hey, it'd be one of those things where it's like, hey, what are the odds that we'd probably meet in the Midwest? Or what are the odds that we would meet at a convention, period?
Well, we would definitely have to do an interview there, too, then.
Well,
a live interview.
Well, of course. I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. I think that's kind of like the goal right now, is to try and at least get one live interview between you and me, just absolutely, having a fantastic time just talking about conventions. And obviously, you talk about conventions quite a bit. So far, has there ever been a convention that just stands out to you as, like, the best you've experienced, or are they kind of all been the same?
Oh gosh, there's been a couple. See, I've been doing this since 2012, and I think I made it a point that year to do as many cons in the area as I possibly could. I think I went to like 10 or 11 that year. No, maybe it was the year after. I can't even remember. But I will say there are certain venues that do tend to be better. There are certain ones that have hit home for me. What was it? The North Texas Comic Book Show is a really good one. Really enjoyed that. Sometimes it's the smaller ones that are more fun, just because they're more chill and relaxed, and you don't feel like you have to go. Like, I need to see all the stores kind of thing. With Dallas Comic-Con, sometimes it's overwhelming for me. There's a lot of places to go and see, and I don't feel like you always get to see everything. Which sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. I will say, convention-wise, I like going to the Irving Convention Center. The layout is really nice. They have the shopping on the bottom floor, and they have all of the autograph celebrity stuff on the very top, and panels on the top, so you don't have to really worry about that throughout the day. With Dallas Comic-Con, they're all in the same building usually, and so you get like a crowd of people coming in for that specific section, whereas like it kind of like pushes everybody into one room. And I remember one year it was so crowded in there, it was awful. I think that was last year. It was like I think they had Ben Affleck, and there was a smorgasbord of people. Like I had no room. I'm glad I wasn't wearing a costume that required room, because I would have had to yell at some people. But yeah, Irving's the best. Dallas Comic-Con, I love it, but sometimes it can be the worst depending on how you play it out.
Yeah, whether it's, a small space or a big space. I know I've been to a couple conventions myself, and it does make a difference on, what kind of area you work with. Whether, some people usually have like, smaller amounts of vendors at the smaller conventions, or there's some that, try to at least, seem small, but they're able to get a big name or a big vendor or somebody like that everybody would definitely love. But of course, the one thing that also definitely stands out with these conventions is the, celebrity guest appearances and stuff like that. Have you ever gotten a chance to interact with some of these celebrities? Because you definitely mentioned Ben Affleck, and trust me, we talked about him last week when you were on the show, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I'm glad you don't have a convention coming up with him where he could probably just come up to you. You'll be like, oh my God, he's coming over to me, and he just said, I heard what you said to me about that on that podcast. You'd be like, oh, you listened. Uh-oh.
Well, he was actually there by chance, I believe, on the last con. They had a cancellation, and they were trying to get someone, I think, to fill in, and they got Ben Affleck, and when they did that, it was like, whoa, oh my goodness. I think it was Michael J. Fox that they were trying to fill in. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was Michael J., because I think I remember seeing his picture or something. I don't know who it was, quite honestly. But yeah, they filled it in with Ben Affleck. I will say, as far as encounters go, I have met, I wouldn't say I've met them. I've interacted with a couple of different people. I will say there was a smaller convention at the Richardson, I think, Civic Center years ago, where I actually took my best friend with me that year. She was very excited about it. And it was a small con, but it was actually probably one of the best I'd ever been to, because they had some characters there. They had the Dukes of Hazzard, John Schneider. I think he played Bowduke, maybe? He's also on Smallville, which I watched religiously for like years, and he was the dad, and seeing him was like, oh my gosh. And he just happened to be like walking around taking photos with the guests. Like, he seemed like such a nice guy. He was taking photos with everybody. Of course, I got a photo with him, and he said that I looked great, and da-da-da-da-da. And that was one of probably the best experiences for me with a celebrity. He just seemed really nice. But then again, later that day, we were taking pictures, and we got photobombed by the Buffy group. So, like, half of the guys that were on Buffy, I don't know, what is his name? He's the best friend kind of guy. I can't think of what his name was on there. It's been a while since I've watched Buffy. I can't think of it, but they all photobombed us in one of our photos while they were heading to their booth, and I was just like, well, that's pretty cool for one day. And then I think I got hit on by Jim Cummings. I'm pretty sure that's what that was. Jim Cummings is the voice actor who does a lot of Disney stuff. He does Winnie the Pooh. He's Tigger, and I think he's Pooh as well, yes. He's done, what is it? He was, I think, Bubba or something from Princess and the Frog. He's been a lot of characters, but he was a judge at the cosplay contest that evening, and this is all one day. This one con, you know how it is? It's just like, whoa, one con. But he ended up like basically hitting on me during the contest. He's like, what's that thing in your belly button? And I'm like, this is my belly button ring. And he's like, that looks like a really cute little disco ball. And I'm like, it's my Navi fairy, because I don't have a Navi fairy with me right now. I was Link, of course. So, and then he gave us the judge's choice for his reward, or his award. So I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he thought I was the shit. Pardon my language. It was very weird. I think I actually, no, did I get hit on? Another year I got hit on by the what is it? The Zach, one of the Power Rangers. Zach, the one that's Zach. That's all I know. I got hit on by him one year. He asked me what I was doing that evening, or what was good to do in Dallas during the evening, where I was going, and I was like, home. I'm going home. You're 40, probably, and way not what I need right now.
It is always crazy to see a lot of the, I guess we can call them older, we can call them more experienced people, especially when they've been in the entertainment business as they have been. They
Yes.
definitely do kind of show their true colors when they go to these conventions. Either they're just,
sure do.
or they just trying to have like a little bit of fun. There's some that I've known that have definitely been major perverts, but then there's some where it's just like, oh, I think they're just having just a little bit of fun. But
yeah, I think my experiences were just a little bit of fun. Nothing perverted in that sense.
Well,
but I'm pretty sure they wanted to know what I was doing that night.
It's one of those things where I listen to your story about Jim Cummings and I'm thinking to myself, gosh, I'm just imagining like, Pooh or Tigger or Don Carnage just absolutely bombing at the bar. Just absolutely.
Yes.
Like, hey, what's that in your ear? Oh, it looks like a nice little disco ball. Like, no, dude,
Yeah.
that's... I know I've been single for years, but at the same time, that's not how you get a woman. That's how you get the conversation from women about, this person is really weird, and they're talking about earrings and stuff like that. It's like, what the hell?
Well, it was my belly button ring, so I know where he was staring. But I'm like, how did you notice that? That's like not that big. You're like, how far away are you from me? Jeez. Got good eyesight, man.
Well, maybe just from all the experiences of him, reading scripts, he's got like a different kind of, vision development. Who knows at this point?
True.
Who knows at this point? So you've cosplayed as a lot of different people, and honestly, I don't think I can give due justice on all the people that you've definitely cosplayed. And I think it's only fair. Who has been, some of your biggest accomplished, cosplay characters that you've done? And what are some that, what are some that were? Let me ask this. It's kind of a behind the scenes question. What are some that you wanted to do, but either you didn't have the time or you didn't have the motivation to create the character? Yeah, or resources.
My dream cosplays. First question, as far as which ones I probably like the most or enjoy the most or yada yada yada. My first one, Link, is always going to be like a home hitter for me because it's my first costume and I still have it. It's sitting in my little cosplay room right now. I have had multiple ones throughout the years. I love doing Harley Quinn. Any of my Harley Quinn costumes could easily, it's just because you're the character in it, you know what I mean? Other ones that I've really loved, I've had a friend, Dave Kramer. He made a build for me, and it's so sweet when someone like that just goes and makes something for you, and it was just awesome. I'm really big on supporting other people who are cosplayers, or people who are on the other half of it who are constructing costumes for other people, because it's crazy how that works. A lot of times I hear, oh, well, your costume's bought, and I'm like, if it's bought, but I'm representing the person who made it specifically for me, and I'm showing it off for them, then that's a little different, you know what I mean? As far as that goes, his suit is probably one of my favorites. It's my my Amazon armor. It's gorgeous, just magnificently beautiful, and there's so many details that he put into that I think are just make it wonderful. I have a suit of, not armor, technically, a Halo suit is what it would be called, Halo armor. That was personally made by a friend for me, which I also love because his name is Alex Portillo. He puts a lot of effort into his work as well. As far as mine go, oh gosh, I don't know which one. I mean, a lot of the times I'll take things and alter them from what they originally were. Like, I'll dye stuff, I'll go through and re-sew it, I'll change things up completely. I like to go to the Goodwill and get things that I think, oh, this would work if I did this, this, and this to it, and then that's what I end up doing. I'm trying to think of which one. I love my Maleficent. That one turned out really nice. I'm trying to think. There's a couple that have been flops that I could tell you. I mean, I don't know if anybody would consider them a flop. I put a lot of work into them, and then it ended up kind of flopping on me. I felt awkward in it. I did a rave version of Aurora from Sleeping Beauty. Put a lot of work into that. I still wear my shorts, though. My shorts are adorable. I wore them for Disney World. It was amazing. They basically fade from one color to another, like her dress does in the movie. Favorite shorts. But I felt kind of awkward in the top because of the way that I did it. I dyed some different things, and I don't know if I'm ready to be a rave character yet. I think that's what it is. Maybe it was the wig. The wig was her hairstyle is very specific, and I feel like my wig wasn't quite there. I tried styling it as best as I could for that hair, but I ended up, the wig that I ordered had a big bump on the top, literally a floof of hair, and I couldn't figure out what to do with it, quite honestly. It still looks really floofy. I think it's not a bad costume. I think I actually have a picture of it maybe on Instagram. I'm not sure, but it's not my greatest, and I've only worn it once for a reason, so let me think. What was the other question? Was what I would want to do, correct? Let's go in that safe direction. Let's say, what are some that you would really like to do? Something that you would do if you had the resources, if you had the materials, if you had all these, all the time, even, to say the least. I'd like to do a Samus costume. I think that would be amazing. I think I can make the hand cannon that she has pretty easily, but the rest of the suit would just be very time-consuming. I had a lot of resources, so I am going to try and do a Zero Suit version of her. I am currently working on a Bowser costume as well. Not like Bowsette, because I'm not going to go that way with it, but I just want to do a regular Bowser. So Samus would be one. Let me think if there's anything else. She-Ra, I'm going to try and do a She-Ra eventually. It's not out of the limits. It's just one of those ones where it's when I get enough time and enough money to get the materials and do the costume. It may be a while before I do that. Let me think. Samus. There's giant armor builds that I would want to do. I want to do Angelwoman from Digimon. I'd like to do Mastamon from that as well. It would take a lot of effort, or Lady Devimon. I've been playing Digimon, a game that's Digimon related lately. I'm that one person that actually liked Digimon growing up, probably more than most people did. Pokemon was cool too. I love Pokemon. I'd love to do some sort of a Charizard cosplay or something like that, Pokemon related. But I think the the highest form of build for me would probably be making a Mastamon. If you haven't heard of it, go look it up. It's basically an angel and a demon mixed together. So I think it would be amazing, because sometimes I like to be nice and sometimes I don't. So I think I would really enjoy that one.
As soon as you said the phrase, I like Digimon, I'm just like, oh my gosh, we are literally going to get along so well. I was a big mark for Digimon 2 when it was out. So I just have like the scene from Step Brothers playing in my head where like Will Ferrell and oh god, what was his name? Damn it, I'm trying to remember the other guy's name. John O'Reilly, that's right. John O'Reilly. His
brother, that's hard, yeah, something like that.
where they have that scene where they're just like, did we just become best friends? Yeah, we did! It's one of those situations where it's like, did we just become best friends on like our first one-on-one podcast? Yes, we did. All because of Digimon.
Yes. Well, I mean, my little brothers are much younger. They have no idea what it is. They know what Pokemon is. Everybody knows what Pokemon is. But it's like Digimon just jumped off a cliff somewhere. And I'm like, why? They had a new game come out. What was it? I have it. There's two of them. They're both for the PS4. The first one's much better than the second one, in my opinion. I've actually been replaying the first one recently. I played it yesterday for like a couple hours. So, I enjoy the Digivolutions on it. I love Lady Devimon, and I don't know if you know what Mastamon is, but it's basically Angel-Woman and Lady Devimon together as one, and they have a scene in the game, and I literally just wanted to play it so I could see that scene, and I saw that scene, and I'm so happy. So happy. Two cats, one black and one white one, turn into Digimon. Then the two Digimon basically get together and have like a love scene, and then they become one. And it's like, what? What just happened?
Holy
it was wonderful. It was beautiful.
Jeez, I've heard people doing like ships and stuff like that. Doing like fantasies and what is it, like fan fiction, and that's just one of those things where literally just said, you know what, we have the budget for it, let's just make our own fan fiction in the middle of this game. It's like, I don't know whether to love this or just be grossed by it, but at the same time I can't look away.
It was just beautiful. It was so beautiful to watch. Like, but I love Angel-Woman and I love Lady Devimon, and watching them become one specific thing just made me so happy. That's literally my goal in the game, is to get Mastamon. When I'm almost there, if I was playing right now, I'd probably have it. But I'm so glad I'm here and not playing video games for once. I always play video games. I have too many of them at this point.
Well, sometimes when you get, stressed out and when you're really just need something to, get away from reality, it's always good to have something that can, take you away from that reality and kind of into a reality of your own. Sometimes it's, for me, it's, pro wrestling. For a lot of people, it's video games. Even for a lot of other people, it's cosplays, thinking about what cosplays are going to come out next and what cosplays are we going to do now. Oh, well, I liked this cosplay that I did before, but maybe I can somehow update it or revamp it. And it takes a lot of effort and a lot of creative juices to, continue that momentum and not just stop and go. So definitely, I want to say right off the bat, I appreciate everything that you do for your cosplays. You do a fantastic job. Definitely one of those people that I've looked on and just thought, she does a fantastic job at these cosplays. I'm loving the fact that she's doing that, and I'm hoping nothing but the best for you.
Thank you.
It's really just amazing what you've created, and I consider cosplay like an art form. And every single artist is definitely different. Some people have different ideas of what they want to do with a certain character. Other people might want to go on the same original route and try to make it like spot for spot, exactly like a person in the movie or something like that. So it's really good to see that. So bravo to you, Miss Scarlett Wolf, for your artistic measure.
Thank you so much. I love what I do, and I love crafting. I love thinking of the costumes. That's probably my favorite part, is trying to figure out what's going to go where and what all I need. I actually pieced together a little costume for tonight. We'll see if it happens. It's going to be kind of cold, I think, and it'll be late before I can actually shoot with it. I have a friend meeting me, a photographer, after all this craziness in Dallas that I'm fixing to do. I'm going to try and do a shoot tonight. I'm doing a Christmas Black Canary, which I literally pieced together in like a matter of an hour, because I was like, you know what? I think I have all the pieces for this. This is going to be fun. I tried it out the other night when we went to the Gaylord, actually. I was Supergirl all day long, which was a lot of fun. But after we went swimming, I was like, I'm going to put on my other costume and see what y'all think. Everybody thought it was really cute, so I'm hoping that there'll be cute photos to come from that.
I cannot wait to see what turns out. It sounds like an absolutely amazing deal. So obviously, we talk a lot about the positives, and one thing that actually really drew me to you was that you're definitely one of those people that has encountered quite a few negatives. And one of the things that definitely, again, kind of I think started this, I guess you could call it business relationship between the two of us, was the fact that you addressed a situation that you were involved in that, you definitely laid out your side of the story of what happened, and it was still one of those things where I just look back and I think to myself, what exactly, kind of transpired here. So, by all means, for those that are not listening in, I'm going to give her, the floor on this to give you guys a little bit of a background as what kind of happened on that. And I do have follow-up questions regarding this. I know it's been a while since this happened, but, it was something where I hinted at it last week. I talked about how communication is...
I totally spaced on that when you said communication. Later on, the girls were like, do you think he meant about the photographer? And I was like, oh, that's what he meant. But I also didn't, I'm glad I didn't think about it, because it would have, completely immersed the entire conversation, and they would have been like, oh, we're just here in the background. You know what I mean? So I'm glad we're addressing it now, and actually not instead of last week, because I would have probably taken the floor for quite a while for that.
But yeah, by all means, we were basically, like I hinted at last week, was that, communications, they are very they are just, misconceived so many times. So, by all means, with your story, just tell us about, how important it is to have communication, whether it is, model to model, model to photographer. Just, again, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Okay, I usually don't have situations like this. I try not to. A lot of the times with the photographers, even if it's a bad situation, I'll make the most of it. I know I've had a couple times, just recap of a couple. One was not the photographer's fault at all. The location ended up saying, hey, you cannot shoot there. Because it's a pub. I don't quite honestly, I don't remember why. It was outside and with a statue, which I'm just in regular clothes. We were doing some modeling for a con. This is another situation. Sorry, I'm going to go off for a few minutes on different things, because this was another one I actually posted about long ago. Photographer's a great guy, wonderful. He said he'd shot here before, and we went there, and they were like, yeah, you can't shoot here. So it's like, well, the con's at the Irving Convention Center. We'll go over there and shoot over there, because they're going to have a con, and I'm going to be dressed as a character later, so it should be fine. We'll just pay and go over there. So we get over there, and we start shooting, and 15 minutes into it, we're on the bottom floor. We've paid for our admission to get into the con, which is on the bottom floor. I'm in a, what is it called? I'm in one of my dresses that has Marvel characters all over it. One of my favorite dresses, and I got this thing for nothing, which is crazy. But it's one of my favorite dresses. It's got all the Marvel characters on it. It was super cute. I wasn't trying to be slutty. I didn't have half my boob hanging out or anything. I was literally just trying to take some photos before I got into this giant suit of Halo armor, because I knew at that point I was going to start to get hot and sweaty and gross and yada, yada, yada. So, and I could take photos then when I'm hot and sweaty and gross and yada, yada, yada too. So they came up to us and they're like, you can't shoot here. And we're like, why? It makes no sense, you know, and they kept, like, they were on it about us getting out of the building. And we're like, we paid admission for this floor. We're not going upstairs. We're literally just in the lobby. Like, the lobby of the location where people are all standing, and there's, you know, it's like 10 in the morning when the con first started, and maybe that's why they were dogging on us. But they were like, you have to go outside. So that was one of my bad situations. It was not on them. It was probably on the Irving Convention Center at that point, because they were being totally rude about it. Could have been nice, but they were totally rude. They kicked us out to go outside. Took our photos outside, you know, on the stairs, whatever. Did our thing there, which was fine, I guess. Except for it was really hot, and I was, like, sweating heavily. But other than that, so later on, the photographer leaves, because he's like, all right, well, this has been kind of a flop. I'm going to head out. I got to go do things. And I was going to stay at the con. So I went and changed into my armor, went back inside, was hanging out with people in the con for a while. And then I think it was the next day. No, maybe it wasn't. One of the other photographers showed up, and he's like, hey, let's go upstairs and go do photos. And I'm like, no, they won't let you do that. Like, they were very adamant about us not taking pictures anywhere outside of this general little box area where the con was literally in. And he's like, well, I've been taking photos all day. And I'm like, that's so biased. Okay, let's go out in the hallway and take photos. We got literally nothing. We were out there taking photos of me in the armor, and I got nothing. Like, they didn't say a word to us, and I was so pissed about that. But that's on Irving. Hopefully they've learned from that, because I, like, gave them the death stare the whole freaking time. Of course, they probably didn't even know it was me. I was in a wig and a completely different costume. They probably had no idea. That's one circumstance. That was a couple years ago. Actually, I think it was, like, last year. Another one, I've had a couple sketchy situations with photographers. Be careful. Be very communicative, you know. He wasn't a bad photographer per se, but I just felt sketchy, and like the situation could have gone a lot better. At first, he wanted to meet at a location. I get there, it looks like a hole in the wall. He says, I'm on my way. He shows up. We go inside, and it looks like a hole in the wall. Like, there was supposed to be, I was gonna do, I wasn't dressed in my costume at the time, thank God, because I think that might have been a little rougher. I looked like a crazy woman. I had no makeup on or anything, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go check it out. I don't want to wear, like, Superwoman clothes whenever I'm not sure of what's going on. So I've never met this photographer before. Went into the place, and there was supposed to be, like, a pool table area. It all looked trashy, super trashy. So I immediately got out of there, messaged the photographer, and I said, if you're really wanting to do a shoot with me, I know a place where there's actual pool tables that will let us sit on them and have fun with them, and it's one of my photos on Instagram, and just play around if you're really up for this. An hour and a half later, he shows up, and we actually have the shoot. And I was literally about to leave at that point, like, when he showed up. It may have been just an hour. It's probably just an hour. But, yeah, it was crazy. I did end up doing the shoot. I drove all the way to Dallas for that, and I'm about an hour from Dallas. So I was bound and determined to get some photos, but I have not worked with the photographer since, so there are reasons for that. This past, the main issue, the one that everybody has heard about recently, was, and now that I think about it, I'm kind of, like, I talked with my girls after, because they were like, we thought you were going to talk about the photographer that had the issue, yada, 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 and I'm like, no, I'm trying to put it behind me as much as I can, because I'm not that person. I really don't like to talk about the situations, but it was kind of infuriating, and telling them again, I literally was just kind of shaky in my voice. They're like, you were so angry that your voice is shaking when you talk about this. And I'm like, I can't help it. It was like a bad day. It was a really bad day for me. I was very excited to do the shoot. I had worked with the photographer previously. Basically, in technically a sketchy situation, but I trusted his judgment over the other photographer, the main photographers, and so I said I was willing to work with this photographer again because I feel like his judgment was a lot better, and he wasn't trying to creep on me at all. The other photographer, I think, was trying to creep on me. It was a water shoot. I do mermaid stuff, and I think they were thinking I was going to be a topless mermaid.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure that's what he wanted, was a topless mermaid, but I didn't realize that. And I said, I have a mermaid costume, and I said I don't do, nudity. So he knew that going in. And he had a pool, and he could do underwater photos. So I was like, sure, yeah, I'm cool with that. So I show up, and I didn't realize it, but there were other models there before my shoot, which I thought was kind of interesting. And they were topless, and I'm like, I had to, make sure they knew. I was like, you do know, I'm not taking my top off, ha 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 ha. Nope, not for me. And they're like, yeah, it's fine, totally cool. So, I had a spiky headpiece on. I had made this crown out of shells, and I used the really pointy shells for the top. Well, I felt really bad for the guy. I don't know if it was an accident or if it was on purpose or what, and after telling the girls, they're like, girl, it might have been on purpose. The guy that was doing the shoot, he fell from one of the steps right where I was directly onto my face area and my crown and kind of downward, but he didn't, I don't know if he was trying to take my top off or if it was an actual fall or what, but he did not successfully do anything other than hurt the fuck out of himself, pardon my language. He hurt himself, whoa, because my crown hit him on the way down, and it pierced his skin. He was bleeding all over, and I'm like, are you okay? Do you need to go inside and take a moment and I can work with the other photographer? And he's like, no, I'll just go put a Band-Aid on it real quick and I'll be fine. And I'm like, alright, whatever. So the other photographer and I get to talking, the one that I actually end up having the issues with later on. He and I are talking, different, I do other things other than mermaids and stuff like that. And he's like, I would definitely like to work with you some more. We took some photos that day. I posted maybe one or two. His editing is kind of an odd thing. I should have known this at first. He kind of photoshopped me into a beach scene in my mermaid tail, but it just didn't look right. You know what I mean? It looked fine. It wasn't something that I would have posted on my Instagram, but it looked interesting. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, and then I think he asked me to do a photo shoot at the fabrication yard in Dallas, which is kind of like a graffiti type thing, and he wanted my Captain America suit, which I had just gotten in, and I'm like, okay, graffiti and Captain America is kind of weird, but sure. So I thought I was the only model that day, I think, and there ended up being another model and 4 other photographers, which I'm kind of glad there was, because I got a variety of photos that day, which was nice. But I did that. I was fine with my photos. They came out nice. So it's like, yeah, if you need me again, just let me know. Well, I had seen his post about doing lights with his, he does a light effect, which is really neat, very interesting. And I had seen him working with a couple other people, and I was like, hey, I have the mermaid thing, I have other stuff. If you want to do lights, I'm totally up for that. I would be interested in the artistry of it and learning about it. And so we did 2 different shoots for that. It takes forever. The photos, it's you're standing there for a long time because of the way that the photo works. It takes multiple images. I don't know how it works, quite honestly. It was crazy. But those turned out nice. They looked good. Did another one with him with the lights with the mermaid, and they also looked really cool. So I was kind of gung-ho on things with him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have any issues about meetups or anything like that up until that point. And then this whole parachute thing happens. And I think, quite honestly, he just had his hands full, you know? He had a lot of photographers who were interested and a lot of models who were interested, and he had his hands full. If he would have admitted that, then I would have been less angry, but he did not want to admit that or say anything about that. He just blamed me instead, which was not really fair in my perspective. It basically started off, he was looking for models and photographers who would be interested in doing a parachute dress thing. He had bought a parachute dress, and he wanted to do photo shoots with it through the month of, I believe, October. And he only wanted to do so many shoots and do them at certain times. So he gave us, like, time frames. I had set up for 2 shoots, and then somehow I ended up doing a different shoot. I don't know. It was crazy. He had one model fall out on him at the last minute, and so I filled in for their kind of initial, not their initial shoot. There was one before it, but he wanted me to fill in for this shoot. So I filled in. I had about 30 minutes to an hour in the dress. Afterwards, I kind of felt like, it's like, wait, I'm done? You know what I mean? Like, I was just warming up, you know? And he told me, he was like, all right, you're done, you know, head on out, leave now. And I'm like, okay. So the other model's coming up and doing her thing, and I just, I didn't realize that it would go by that quick, you know? There were other photographers there, lots of other photographers. They were there to help with the dress, and in return, they got to take photos as well. So, there was probably 7 or 8 photographers, and I kind of felt a little overwhelmed myself at one point, because the photographer who was in charge kept telling me to look in one direction, and the other photographers were, like, not technically telling me to look in that direction. I was like, I don't want to look over there because it's like way away from everybody, like the light. I think I did for a couple of them, and then I looked back at some of the other photographers because they were like, hey, look over here. Hey, look over here. So after that shoot, he's like, okay, we're doing the one at the Arboretum. The Arboretum is about an hour from me. As far as where I live, and he at first said it was going to be at 6 a.m., and I told him I couldn't do it because I couldn't get there at 6 a.m. And then he changed it to 9 a.m. as the starting time. Are you still there? Am I good? I'm not, like, just rambling to myself?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I honestly, at this point, I want to just state this, you guys. We originally were going to plan on doing the podcast at, like, 8 a.m., but we're doing this at 9 a.m., so it is kind of one of those things where it's, like, a real cruel kind of coincidence.
We're on time. We are here. We are doing our thing, sir. I was ready to go for this shoot. When he said 9 a.m., I'm like, okay, I can probably do 9 a.m. I'll be over there. I can, whatever you need me to do. I wanted to get in this dress. Okay, I enjoyed the first time. I felt like I was just warming up to it. It's like, I want a second chance. I think I can really blow y'all away with what I do, because I knew what I was going to do the next time. But he then goes, I'm like, okay, so what time do I need to be there? They said they were going to do a Groupon, okay? For the event, they were going to do a Groupon, which means that you would get a better price if you had a group all at once that came in. So, he said they were going to meet at 9 a.m. for the Groupon thing. So I'm like, okay, I've got to meet them there at 9 so that I'm able to get my ticket at the right price. So I'm not having to pay extra. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, then he says something about having an MUA come in. And I'm like, well, I'm totally cool with that if you want me to use her. Do you want me to have my makeup done by the MUA? And he said yes. Okay. And I said, what time do I need to be there for that? And he said, well, I'm thinking somewhere around 11. And I'm like, for the MUA to do my makeup okay, sure. I'm going to be there at 9 anyways because I'm getting the Groupon ticket. So that's plenty of time for me to find this MUA and get my makeup done. Miscommunication. So I'm assuming that I need to be makeup ready somewhere between 11 and 11:30, right?
Yeah.
Based on him saying that I need to be there around 11, and then the MUA is going to be doing my makeup. I don't know why he told me 11, knowing that there was a Groupon for 9 a.m. That was kind of stupid, in my opinion. He should have told me 9 a.m. and then been like, you can go and chill or whatever, and then get your makeup done. But, like I said, I think he had his plate a little too full for that day, and didn't realize it. Anyways, so I get there at 9. There is one other photographer there at that time, and then another model shows up, and she has not had her makeup done by the MUA yet either. So I felt comfortable. I was like, okay, I'm not the only one who has a bare face with no makeup on, who is doing this shoot. And I was supposed to be the last one to go. So I knew, I was like, okay, we're good there. Anyways, so other photographers start showing up, and there was a lot of a mess because there ended up being a marathon that day at the actual Arboretum. So there was cars parked everywhere, and the first entrance was booked up, the second entrance was booked up, you couldn't go through, and the third entrance was the only one that you could go through. So we ended up parking in there. Well, I guess the MUA wasn't part of our little group thing. Okay, she was in a completely different, I don't know what, Lord knows what.
Right.
I didn't know what, for sure. And so I had no idea where she was or what time, and I'm thinking, okay, it's still like 9-something. The main photographer hasn't even showed up. I'm cool, you know? I'm just fine. He says meet at 9:30 because of the way that all of the craziness of this marathon is. So we're sitting there waiting on him. He gets there at 9:30-ish, and he goes to buy the tickets or whatever. It still ends up being $15, which was kind of weird because I don't know if that's how that worked. Not quite sure how that worked.
No.
But because I think it was not supposed to be, I think it was supposed to be cheaper than that, but whatever. He went over, took all of our money, went over and talked to Lord knows who. Then this lady comes out, and she's like asking us all these questions from the Arboretum, like, who are you? What are y'all doing? How many of y'all are here? Who's doing what, when, where, why? And we're like, we're just here for the shoot. Oh my gosh. So about this time, I'm asking the main photographer, I said, hey, where's this MUA at? And he goes, you haven't been to the MUA? And I'm like, no, I assumed she was coming here because we're here and we're all meeting here, so why wouldn't she be over here? And he goes, no, you were supposed to go down da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I never got a message about that, ever. Like, I have no idea where this lady is. So I get her information, and there's still another girl too. We're both like freaking out. So I get her information. I say, you go and do whatever you have to do with the other models, and I will take care of our getting our makeup done and finding this MUA and yada, yada, yada. So I get the number for the MUA. I'm calling her. I'm like, where are you? She's like, I'm down the road at such and such. And I'm like, well, we're over here, at the entrance parked, and there's a parking spot right here. So we tell her, and she comes and pulls in. She starts doing the other girl's makeup because I was like, she's like, okay, who's going first? And I'm like, well, she has to shoot first, so let her go first. I'm supposed to be the last one to shoot. So the other girl goes, gets her makeup done, and he's kind of like telling us to meet him wherever. And so she gets her makeup done and heads on in. And I start to get my makeup done, and I get a message saying, you have 5 minutes. And I'm like, what do you mean I have 5 minutes? It's not even 11 o'clock yet. Like, I wasn't even supposed to be here yet, quite honestly. So why would you say I have 5 minutes? and I'm freaking out, and I'm telling him I'm going as fast as I can. The MUA is just doing my lips. Like, she's literally putting the makeup on my lips, and then I'll be ready to go. So I gotta go in, and it's like 11 o'clock, and I'm going to go into this Arboretum place. They told me I couldn't bring certain things in, so I had to go back out to my car and drop it off. I didn't know that I couldn't bring, like, I had, like, a little set of horns, like a headdress, basically. Not anything crazy, but they were like, you can't bring any items in here. So it's like, fine. I'll go put it in my car and go back. So it's like 11:05. I'm going inside. Someone else had to tell me where the location was. He didn't message me. After that 5-minute thing, he was like, done, apparently. So one of the other ladies that was in the group chat says, we're by the fountain. And I'm like, there's 3 fountains at this entrance. I know this Arboretum like the back of my hand. Like, I literally have been here so many times. There's 3 fountains. There's one in the kids' one, which is like probably not what it would be. There's a giant one down by this white building, which is probably what it is. And then there's the grotto area, which is technically not a fountain. It's just water. They were at the grotto area. I didn't see them when I was going through. I was looking where the water was because I assumed that meant they were like right there. Didn't see them, kept walking, went down to the White House fountain, and one of the ladies was there, and she's like, they're back at the grotto area. So I ran back to the grotto area. As I'm walking up, he's looking at me and shaking his head and going, we're done. I'm done. It's put up. We're done. And I'm like, are you serious? And he goes, yeah, I'm serious. You weren't listening. And I'm like, how was I not listening? How? You told me to be here getting my makeup done at 11. I was here at 9 a.m. ready to go. So I don't know. And I sat there for like 30 minutes to an hour waiting on you. So he was like, I'm just too hot. It's too hot. And I'm like, well, I mean, okay. At this point, I was so infuriated that I just was like, I'm done. I'm going to just go back to my car and vent. So went back to my car, and I'm just like venting. At that point, I was done. So done. It was just a bad situation. I was really hot and nasty and just sweaty, and I was done. I have never had that sort of situation where I was that mad at someone, but I was that time. It was bad. I cried. I was frustrated. Didn't want to do anything. I sat in my car for a while just trying to calm myself down. And yeah, it was a bad situation. I try not to think about it. I've had a lot of people tell me, you know, what a bad guy. I'm going to not use my bad language. What a bad guy he was, because I vented, of course. I didn't say who it was, the photographer-wise. I didn't say anything about it. I just said, and I tried to be somewhat nice about it. I said there was a lot of miscommunication and things like that. And all of a sudden, he's messaging on my Facebook with some very nasty messages and things. And I was not having that. He posted a message onto every single one of my photos, which I'm not sure how he did that, but I can't get rid of that ever. So there's too many of them for me to go in and try to delete at this point, because it's on every single one of my photos. It was very childish for him to do that. He could have handled the situation much better. He could have just said, I'm sorry, we can try and reschedule, anything. This MUA just put all of her makeup on me for free, and you're wasting her money and time alongside mine. That it just was not cool for me. I would not work with him again. I have not talked to him since that day, and that's it. That's literally it. I would not suggest him as a photographer for anyone. If any of you know the guy with the parachute dress and the lights stuff, then you know not to work with him, or, I mean, that's your decision, I guess. So, yeah, that's my consensus on my situation.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that story along with a bunch of other ones. It definitely does make me appreciate you more as the artist, but also as the woman behind the makeup, a woman behind the costumes and everything, because you're basically showing that you're human. And let me just start this by prefacing this, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't put her up to this. I literally told her before we even did this podcast, I said, you know what, I'm going to give you an open forum. You just get everything off your chest. And hopefully this is one of those times where, it hasn't brought, too many bad memories. I know you definitely mentioned, it's very hard to kind of talk about sometimes. But I'm also kind of hoping that, this is one of those things that helps, again, I hope this event definitely helps out quite a bit. As well as...
I will say, for full detail, you can find the messages and the original video on my Facebook. Right now, it's been, I think, about 2 months at least, and I am kind of at the point where I have put it behind me. I try to forget the things. So, full detail is on my Facebook page. If you want to see his little messages and his miscommunications, you are welcome to go there and find more out about the situation, too.
Right. Yeah, I definitely do recall you, posting a lot of them up, and, you don't use the name, you don't use the, who the person is. You definitely were very discreet about that. And again, I respect that, because you're showing that, I don't need to give him credit for this. I don't need to, bash his name. I'm the adult here, and that is basically how it is. It's not one of those situations where, you're doing this to benefit yourself. No.
Yeah.
Guys, I've read the story front to back. I've seen the video at least 2 or 3 times, and I even got emotional watching it, because I'm just thinking
I'm shaking right now. Talking about it makes me mad and very upset. It's not something I like to talk about. I don't usually get emotional like this. I'm usually a fun, happy-go-lucky person, but it really hit my core that day. So...
Well, I think also for this, major negative that it has definitely affected you, it is kind of one of those things where I also look at a lot of the comments that, people definitely mentioned on your video and on your deals, where you have a lot of these people definitely showing their support for you. So it definitely is really awesome to see, human beings can definitely come together and be able to pick somebody up when they're down. Literally, I don't want to give myself credit for this, but I think that I was kind of one of those first few people that definitely was...
you did a wonderful job. I'm sorry. I appreciated that she wanted to hear both sides first. That is always my first thought as well, is I know I see where you're coming from on the situation, what happened with his half of the situation. And of course you could see when he messaged me back how he was taking it, what he was doing in return for what I was saying. And I just felt like he was not taking the situation in the correct way. I ended up not even... I wanted to put it behind me. After that, I vented. That was my one vent, so people knew that there was some photographers out there that were that way. I didn't even give his name. I just wanted them to know why I was not in a happy mood. And probably would not be... I didn't end up doing photo shoots for a little while after that even, because I was kind of a little, not traumatized, but I was kind of in that sort of situation where it's like, okay, I've had this really bad situation. I need some time to cope before I get back on my feet and do normal things again. So I took it easy for a little while there. Didn't do a whole lot of shoots. I'm starting to get back now, but it took a little while for me to get over that.
Well, definitely, and you've hit it on the head with a lot of your stories you mentioned, was the fact that, there are a lot of these sketchy people that want you to do not so, I guess we could call it, in like layman's terms, PG things, which, I also admire the fact that, you have that much, respect for yourself, where it's like, I'm not going to degrade myself. If somebody else wants to go in that level and they're comfortable with their body, that's fine. But for me, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not going to degrade myself just to make myself, popular or something like that. So again, another mad respect for you for having that much respect for yourself to do that. Again, it's one of those things where I really come out of this interview and I just think to myself, I have more respect for you than I probably ever had before, even like at least tenfold from when I first saw you doing that vent video, because now I got the chance to see, the fact that, you've gone through all these things, but you're also not letting it affect you. You're basically out there saying to everybody, hey, watch out for these kind of people, because I've experienced that. I don't want anybody else to go through that. So, props to you for doing that. That's really something that is legitimately amazing and very mature, unlike, certain other people who will not mention. Because it really does.
I'm sure he's told other people about me. Lord knows, but I can handle it. If they're going to say those things, then they're going to say them, and it's going to happen. There are lots of different controversial things and other things that you could discuss, but whatever, I've not said anything other than that post since it happened, really. But, I also haven't spoken to that guy since, and I will not. If I did, it better be when he apologizes, because it was very rude of him to do that.
No, definitely. I fully agree with that. And really, the thing is that if you were to come up to Chicago to do any convention, the one thing I would just basically tell people, it's like, hey, do not be a pervert around this woman. Otherwise, she will probably stab you with one of her horns. It's like, you're kidding, right? It's like, listen to my podcast and you will know that I am not joking.
Well, he wasn't, there was nothing perverted with it, but he definitely didn't play out how he should have played out his cards on that specific day, in my opinion. There were other models that were not happy as well. What I calculated from it, and I was thinking, and I didn't realize how many models he had there that day. There was probably 6 of us, and we're getting there at 9:30, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going at 11-ish, so how long are these other models getting to shoot in this dress? Because if there's 5-6 of us, and it's 10 when they get started, that's an hour and a half at most that they have photos. So I was calculating that, and I'm like, I'm kind of glad I'm the last one. Maybe I'll get some extra time. And then when it came down to it, and he was like, we're done, I'm like, interesting. Okay. So, I posted my post, and then I had another model come out to me, and she was like, yeah, I did not feel like I was getting any of my money's worth when I paid for that Arboretum. I had someone come in with me. We paid $30, and we literally got like 15 minutes in that dress, and I'm like, yep, that's not cool either. So I did end up getting my money back because I didn't shoot and I didn't stay. So he did end up paying me the $15. Of course, the travel money, the 2 hours, 1 hour drive there and 1 hour drive back were not cool, but whatever, it's TFP, so you are basically saying photos for time. Of course, I didn't get any photos for my time, so I felt pretty jibbed, but, other than that.
Yeah, but, again, it's just showing the fact that, you're definitely doing your best to stay strong and stay mature, and I definitely, again, it's one of those things that I'm hoping that people do definitely get that out of this podcast, where they definitely see that, there is a way to handle these situations without just, going with the first thing that happens in your mind. It's more about, just making the right decision and doing what is the right thing. You may not like it, but doing the right thing is always the best thing, because it is going to make you the better person. And
that's why I just walked away and was like, I'm going to go vent in my car and not yell at you. So I went in my car and I was crying and yelling at my car, but I was trying to be the better person, trying really hard after that crazy day. So I always try to be the better person. I always try to look at both sides of things. Sometimes it's hard, but you have to.
Now I just legit want you to come to C2E2 so that way people can just see, the creations that you've made, and just all the people there just, taking photos with you and just saying like, oh, this is really awesome. This looks really great. And for it to literally just be like a video of you and me just saying like, hey, photographer, how's it going? She's doing amazing right now. How you doing, asshole? But pardon my language, not really.
When is C2E2?
I will give you some information about that after the show, and yeah, I can't really.
That would be wonderful.
It's one of those things where I think it just would be an absolutely great thing for you to do. Can I reveal the fact that, C2E2 is on my list? Well, not really. You guys will have to listen into next week. I may have just spoiled it for you, but at the same time, that's next week, and you'll hear it here. But anyway.
I know when it is. I just looked it up. If you're curious, I have my phone going too. It's in March, March 22nd through the 24th. Apparently, I do need to look and see. I may actually be booked for a con that weekend, though. But I think I've heard of C2E2. It's pretty popular, from what I understand. It's
one of the best comic conventions in the Midwest, in my opinion. And again, I missed out on last year. This year, I try to plan on making to it, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But I feel like we definitely should end this more on a positive note and not on a bad note. So
yes, please. I'm shaking still, so let's do something positive.
Oh yeah, by all means. So yeah, obviously, I think yesterday, of course, was the release date for Aquaman. Have you gotten a chance to see Aquaman yet?
I have not, but I did. I know that we talked about the mermaid thing, and that there was a group going for the premiere as their mermaids. They posted a picture yesterday, and I'm like, oh, they're there! They went as mermaids to see Aquaman, of course. I have not seen it yet. I'm very curious. I've heard that it's actually doing really well, so I would love to see that. I also haven't seen the new Spider-Man movie either, and I heard it's pretty amazing, too. So I'm hoping sometime during this holiday season, I'll get a chance to go to the movie theater. Maybe Christmas night? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that pans out. My family's got some interesting things going on, not to throw another bad note in there, but I'll probably be at the hospital most of the time. So.
Oh, geez, no.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just, my dad's, he's not doing so well, so I'm actually going there today after lunch to Dallas to see him for a little while, and then I'm going to go have a positive and check out this new unicorn bar that they have, apparently, in Deep Ellum, so curious for that.
A unicorn bar? That sounds like something out of GTA 5 for some reason.
It's the grand opening today, and if you dress like a unicorn, you get 20% off, so, I don't have a unicorn outfit yet, so I'm going to go as an elf and see if they'll, kind of slide me the deal anyways, but for being a Christmas elf at a magical bar, but we'll see.
That sounds like a lot of fun. For me, I would just dress up like a member of the New Day from WWE, because literally all I have to do is just get the New Day attire, and then they just have unicorns all ready to go, so it's one of those things where it's just...
I wish we have horses.
Right.
My aunt has about 30 horses, and I've been riding since I was 2.
Oh.
I literally just purchased a unicorn horn bridle for one of her horses to wear, so I'm so ready for unicorn pictures. I'm going to be a mermaid on a unicorn eventually. It'll get there. I want to be in a parade, too. It's going to happen. I can ride side saddle. I've been doing it for years, so eventually I'll be a unicorn mermaid princess. It'll happen. Getting there, slowly but surely.
Hashtag life goals.
Yes, that's my life goal, is to be a mermaid unicorn princess. I'm getting pretty close. I got mermaid and I got princess down, but that unicorn thing, it's coming, so...
Just only a matter of time.
Yes, all in good time. It's a little cold right now for unicorns, but...
Oh, unicorns can go wherever they want. They don't care about the cold.
I don't know if I'd want to... That's true. I don't know if I'd want to ride at this point. It's a little chilly out. Although I say that, and then I'm doing canary costume later. So I don't know. Maybe it is possible.
Maybe there's a little bit of contrast in there, a little bit of issues with that. But something, guys, we're not here to judge. It's 2018, going to be 2019. So at this point, just don't judge at this point. So. I will ask this one final question before we get into the final bits of the show where we do the cheap plugs and stuff like that. So, when you are, riding off into the sunset and you look back on your cosplay career, your modeling career, what is the one thing that you would want people to remember you for the most?
Oh, gosh. As far as that goes, I want to take the friendships from it. I'm hoping that they won't have to remember me. I'll have made friends that way, and we'll not, we'll still be going. We'll ride into the sunset together as friends. But that and, I don't know, just the creativity behind it. A lot of that is what I would like for people to remember. One day, it'll probably never happen. I say one day I'm going to just sell everything and travel the world. And it'll probably, maybe it'll happen one of these days. One of these days I'll have kids. And either I'll keep conning with them or I'll do some trips. I don't know. But I definitely want to keep the friendships that I have made. That's probably my main thing with cosplay, is keeping those friends. As far as photos and all that go, it really doesn't matter as long as, you have friends out of it. So that is my main thing. I don't really know if there's anything I need riding off into the sunset other than my friends.
And you know what the best thing about answering that question is?
What?
The fact that there is no wrong answer.
Yes, this is true. But it's like you have to think about it, because it's like, well, once the show is over, what do I have out of it? I have my friends, I have memories. That's what I want people to remember me by. So, are these friends and memories that I've made. Hey,
I think that's honestly a really good answer, and might be one of the best ones.
Thank you. I'm a My Little Pony at heart, too. So. Friendship is magic.
Oh, man. We just went from best friends to I'm questioning our friendship right now.
Just remember, I like Digimon.
This is also true. Now it's like one of those things where it's like questioning it, Digimon. Okay,
yes,
let's talk for a minute. just like nothing even happened. So,
yes.
All right, so we're going to wrap up this edition of the Game Changer. So first, before we even do that, it's time for the cheap plugs. Miss Wolf, please, by all means, tell us how we can find you and, chat with you and get to see your photos. What are you going to be doing as far as, 2019 and the early months are going as concerns?
Okay, so I have, as far as I know, 2 cons that I'll be guesting at. So, of course, I'll be attending pretty much every one in the DFW area anyways. But as far as guesting goes, I will be down in Austin for Austin City Limits Comic-Con. That is in May, I believe the end of May. And then I will also be in New Braunfels for a new con called the Hill Country Comic Con. I always want to say something else, but it's Hill Country Comic Con. And that will be March, I believe. All I know is it's spring break weekend. It's I think March 19th. I could be wrong, but it's one of those weekends in March. I will be there for that too. I can be found on Instagram at Miss Scarlett Wolf and on Facebook at Miss Scarlett Wolf. I usually post on my Instagram more now. I usually use my Facebook kind of as a place to set my albums for photos at this point. You can see the main photo on Instagram and check out the entire album on Facebook kind of thing. But that's me. I don't know. Like I said, I'll be at most cons. I'm planning on doing some costumes, or some cosplays, technically, in the future. That should be a lot of fun. I do have an Amazon wish list at this point, because, it's Christmas time, and you never know who's going to be generous or give you lumps of coal. You never know. So I do have an Amazon wish list that's linked on my Instagram as well. If you want to see some of my cosplays I'm trying to work on or come up with, then you can always hit that up too.
All right. Very nice, very nice. And who knows, I might be just one of those contributors at this point.
Oh, well, I would greatly appreciate it. It's going to be, like I said, a very interesting Christmas this year.
So, guys, you definitely know how to find us on Twitter. You definitely know how to find us on Facebook. I don't need to tell you this whole entire spiel because you know. So definitely before we head out, I just want to say, Miss Scarlett Wolf, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing everything. And just thank you for being the best thing, and that is being you.
Thank you. Thank you for being you, too. I've really enjoyed having our conversations, and I'd love to come back for another show.
Well, you know something? We might just have to pencil you in. Who knows? Maybe we'll just have to do this deal where it's like, you know, you do a convention and we have you on like a couple days later for like a review show where you can just talk about, hey, this happened at the convention, you know, I was dressed like this, and you know, another creepy old guy tried to flirt with me. So
yes, it's kind of the census, isn't it? There's always the creepy old guy trying to flirt with you.
Well, I mean, first it was Winnie the Pooh, and then it was Zach from Power Rangers. So at this point, I'm just waiting for like somebody like, oh God, I'm not gonna say his name. I'm not gonna say Tim Curry. Damn it! No, Tim Curry's my idol. But then again, it's Tim Curry, so maybe that won't be as bad. So for Scarlet Wolf, I've been Nate the Effing Great. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Game Changer, and I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye bye.